Just yesterday we heard about Heimdallr, the newest god in SMITE, and now it's already time to talk about the next god. Or is it a god even? We are going to talk about the character that will be released after Heimdallr based on the data mining information that came out on SMITEDatamining.com today, where we have more details about the character formerly known as Magnolia. And as many of you may remember, there was some speculation about this being Mulan already, and I kind of felt that that was a very good speculation and that was most likely true based on the indications that we had, and that turned out to be true. The character, who is labeled as a goddess, is now called Mulan, which would be Hua Mulan. Yes, that very character from Chinese folklore that also inspired Mulan as the Disney character. From the comments that I read last time, most of you are actually not too upset about this not being an actual goddess. Many of you said that they are happy that Hyris, through this, reaches out to audiences that they haven't really tapped into yet and just reaches a potential wider player base, and also that otherwise they would run into the issue of running out of popular gods at some point anyways. So this is the path they're going down, and it also brings up some interesting speculation for the next god, but that's something we'll talk about another time. And along with that, it brings the first information about her abilities. So there's one note about the passive. It says, not sure if the evolution stacks are in your inventory or each ability has a different one. Because some part of a kit has something called evolve. This has some function in abilities 1, 2 and 3 for something called evolve. And this very evolve comes with a lot more details. So there's something called an evolution device, and this device has 3 evolution stages and also icons for the interface that correspond with that. So something about these abilities is going to change. These evolutions have XP levels of some sort, and the evolution needs to gain XP. The evolutions have equip effects that can trigger status effects, and you can or something else can initialize the evolution somehow. This then allows you to fire the evolution ability. It may apply an evolution stat increase under certain circumstances, but that's not quite clear. And the evolution can evolve and may also devolve. The speculation from SMITE Datamining here is it seems like the ability can be evolved into better tiers, let's just call it tiers for a better understanding, gaining XP, probably killing minions and so on. After it's evolved, it seems to have different effects for the ability, so it's probably a 3-tier ability inside one. Now, I personally was immediately reminded of Kha'Zix from League of Legends. If you're unfamiliar with Kha'Zix, he is the assassin from the void. He is kind of a bug type character, and he has different evolutions for all of his abilities. So whenever you reach a new level of your ultimate, you're able to then also level up one of your other abilities by evolving it, giving it additional effects. Like for example, in one case it's a longer range, in another case the ability briefly gives you stealth and those type of mechanics. And also these evolutions lead to the character changing visually. I don't know if this is still the case, but back then it was even more interesting than just that. You actually could only choose 3 out of 4 evolutions in the game, so your late game playing style would depend on that and you could not devolve those. And you also could potentially get the chance for another evolution if you were facing a specific other enemy Rengar who is like his nemesis, and if you got an item from him or something, you were able to level up even further. So some interesting unique interactions there. I don't think Mulan will work quite like that. I don't see this rival mechanic coming into play because I don't really think we have a rival for Mulan in the first place in SMITE. And I also have the impression, based on the fact that there may be a possibility to devolve the abilities, that's not going to be something that's like hard limited the moment you evolve one ability once. And there's also the interesting fact that apparently there are the 3 evolution stages. Now the 3 stages could mean that leveling up one of your abilities is one stage, so the 3rd stage is reached when you've leveled up all your 1, 2 and 3 abilities. But it could also mean that you can put multiple evolutions, like up to 3, in a single ability. It's very interesting from the perspective of me not being quite sure what Mulan has to do with evolution. I don't really get that from her lore, but at the same time, Hi-Rez has a lot of freedom with Mulan's lore based on the fact that there isn't really that much to go by, and they can kind of flexibly put things in there as they feel fit. And they also have the option to expand on her lore by weaving it into the SMITE lore, and maybe that is something that has to do with the evolution stages. Maybe she gets blessed by some of the gods, and she can utilize the strength of these blessings to then upgrade her abilities and give them godlike powers or something like that. It's also interesting that these evolutions have XP levels, which seems like they're not necessarily tied to your character's level, but rather level up separately, which could mean that using specific abilities levels them up. So the more you use an ability in a fight, the more it levels up or something like that, the quicker you can evolve it. But I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. It could really be many ways here. Now for ability 1, the information that we have is that it's an evolution device. So what we already had above, that applies for all of them. And it has a cone attack angle. It can attack twice and it fires ammunition, so it's probably a device that fires projectile. The evolution can apply status effects, and there are 3 icons for the evolutions here, so that again would indicate that this particular ability alone can be leveled up 3 times already. Now, the time period in which Mulan is placed is not quite set in stone. There are some different accounts on that basically, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be at a time where guns were popular. So what this projectile will probably be is some sort of bow and arrow type of device, I would assume. Or the ammunition simply is a counter for having multiple hits with any other type of weapon or attack. The second ability, interesting enough, has the same notes as the first ability. It has the evolution device and otherwise same as ability 1. I'm not sure if this is just a poor explanation from SMITE Datamining, or if Hi-Rez just copied that over for now, or what exactly is behind this, but it seems that possibly there are multiple abilities that are very similar and maybe only really change once you evolve them into further stages, so you get those additional effects, like, I don't know, maybe you can get poison arrows and slow arrows or something like that. About the third ability, we don't know anything other than that it has this evolution device as well. And for the ultimate, we know that it will be targeting stage 1, 2, and 3. I don't know if that means it refers to abilities 1, 2, and 3, or if the ability itself will simply have 3 stages of targeting something. Very limited information here as well, so not all too much that we can work out with that yet. We can, however, do some more speculation based on what we know from here, plus what we know about other upcoming gods. We know that Heimdallr will be a hunter, and with Ulrun having been a mage hunter not too long ago, we can be fairly certain that we won't see another hunter release. I think that would just bother a lot of people. And I also can't see Mulan being a mage, not only because I don't really think it fits her, she's very much not magical, she's like the least magical character that we could possibly think of in SMITE, but also because Baba Yaga is the next character that comes out afterwards. And I am fairly certain that a witch will not fall into any other class but mage. Maybe a guardian, but I think that's highly unlikely. We also just had a Guardian release with Emoja, so that's not really on the schedule right now, and that leaves us with Warrior and Assassin. Coincidentally, our last Warrior and Assassin literally came out at the same time. Now, if we're basing our speculations on Mulan's modern depictions from the Disney movie, which would make some degree of sense for Hi-Rez to base their design onto some degree in order to have recognizability, the historical depictions of her don't necessarily match that. You'll see some of her pictures showing her in fabric or in leather outfits, but still ready to fight, for example, holding her sword or holding her bow, or sometimes even holding some sort of spear, lance, I'm not quite sure what this qualifies as, and often also on her horse, but it doesn't mean that armored depictions of her don't exist. According to her lore, she was a skilled fighter after all, and in many ways would fit the warrior class, being an expert in many different weapons. But then we also have Ares, who is an expert in many different weapons, who's a guardian. On the other hand, there will always be that sneaky aspect to her kid of her being a woman that disguises as a man while fighting in the army until eventually people find out about it, or it's eventually revealed, depending on how you want to interpret the story. So I could really see this going either way. The only thing that to me personally speaks a little bit more towards Assassin is that the gods that are released afterwards, up until let's call him Mr. Moon, don't necessarily seem to be good fits for Assassins. And I would be surprised if the wait time for Assassins is that long, while there would be some, or rather at least one decent fit for a warrior beforehand. But again, I could really see this going either way. I can see justifications for both and I'd be happy about both. So no complaints from me whichever way Hi-Rez chooses here. And that is it for today. I hope this was interesting and insightful. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit the sub button and maybe the bell. It really helps me out. And other than that, see you for the next one tomorrow. DukeSloth, out.